The headstone for Margaret Pruitt had moved again. Ellis noticed it at first light, the way he noticed everything in Ashford Cemetery, quietly, without fuss, the way a man notices a bruise he doesn't remember earning. Pruitt's stone had been planted at the east end of row 7 for 61 years. Now it stood 3 plots north, beside a man named Corwin, who had died a full decade before Margaret was even born. Ellis set down his thermos and stared at it for a long time. The ground around its base showed no signs of digging, no tire tracks, no footprints but his own from yesterday's rounds. Just the stone, relocated in the night as if it had always belonged there. He logged it in his maintenance book, the same book where, if you flipped back 4 months, you'd find 11 other such entries. Moved stones. No explanation, no pattern he could see. He photographed it. He called the township office. They sent a young woman named Sage Holloway from the Historical Preservation Board, who arrived in a sensible coat with a clipboard and the particular skepticism of someone who had never spent a night near the dead. She measured distances. She checked foundation depths. She said the soil composition might cause subtle shifting over decades of freeze-thaw cycles. Ellis nodded and did not tell her that he'd watched the Pruitt stone standing in its correct position at 11:47 the previous night. He had the flashlight record on his phone to prove it. By morning, it had moved. He did not tell her this because he had learned in 32 years of caretaking that some truths age better when kept in the dark. It was Sage who noticed the pattern, ironically. She had laid out a map of the cemetery on his folding table in the equipment shed, marking each stone that had moved with a red dot. She stepped back. She tilted her head. Ellis watched her face change. The red dots, plotted across the grid of the cemetery, formed letters. Rough, imprecise, stretched across dozens of rows, but unmistakable to anyone willing to see them. 3 letters. 3 letters scratched into the geography of the dead. W.A.K. Sage said it was coincidence. She said it with the flat, deliberate voice of someone trying to convince herself. She left before noon. Ellis stayed, as he always did. He walked the rows at dusk, cataloging. He stopped at the newest grave, a man named Foster Greaves, buried just 11 days ago, stone not yet fully settled. The stone had not moved. All the others had moved around it, arranged around it. He stood in the fading light and understood, in the way you understand something that lives below language, that the dead were not rearranging randomly. They were pointing, every displaced stone oriented in its new position toward Foster Greaves. Everyone. A man 11 days in the ground. A man with no family listed in the records, no obituary in the local paper, no flowers left. A man about whom Ellis knew only one thing with certainty. He had arrived at Ashford Cemetery already cold, in a truck with no plates, identified by no one. Ellis had signed the paperwork because someone had to. He stood at the foot of Foster Greaves and listened to the cemetery settle around him in the cooling air. And then, slowly, with a grinding patience older than electricity, the headstone of Margaret Pruitt, 3 plots over, 2 rows up, rotated a 1/4 inch in the dark. Pointing. Still pointing. Ellis did not run. He never would again.